All right, it is 7 o'clock. We will call to order our October 19th, 2021 City Council meeting. We'll start with our roll call.
Councilman Becker,
Here.
Councilman Hartwick. Here. Councilman Housley,
Here.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
President Shear.
Here. Agenda item 3, public hearings. This evening we have none. Agenda item 4, public comment. As a reminder, the city council will receive comments from city residents. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up in advance or state the following items for the record when called upon. It would be your name, address, subject matter, and contact information. No action will be taken on any public comments unless the item is also elsewhere on the agenda. We do have 2 people signed up for public comment this evening. So we will start with Adam Milkey. Yep, right up there. And then is the microphone set to green? All right.
All right, hello. I didn't know I was gonna have this audience here, and I recognize a lot of the guys, but I'm here to speak on behalf of, I need help dealing with my neighbors at 305 Roosevelt Street. It's a chronic nuisance. I've lived there over 10 years. So have they. You know, it's a relationship that's goes on, but puts these guys in a tough spot when they have to try to deal with it. I feel it's the city's council's job to deal with it a little bit more than the police should have to. I just need help. I don't know what to do. It's there's new neighbors in the neighborhood. They come to me. They're like, "Hey, what's going on here?" You know, they call, and it's like, you call the police, they do their thing. Adam Lawrence has been great. We talked quite a bit, but it's like, you have to hold their hand constantly, right? As soon as they get rid of one truck because they got a ticket about it or whatever, they get another truck that's broken down, and it's like there's 4 of them in their yard constantly. I want their backyard looked at. I know there's oil and other debris that needs to be cleaned up. I get told that we can't do anything in their backyard, but my last comment is I challenge each of you to take a drive past 305 Roosevelt and pretend you live across the street, and maybe we can do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Next, we'll have Don Healing. Sorry if I got that last name wrong.
I'm a resident of 315 Roosevelt Street. I'm kind of in between the mudslinging. There is a problem, but you know, I try to make peace with my neighbors and get along with everybody. And of course, the guys here, they know who I am, and they've, you know, I've been pinched a couple times, you know, clean up your mess or whatever, which I have and stuff. So I really, you know, I see where Adam's coming from. I understand it. You know, they're not bad people that live over there on 305 Roosevelt. I've known them for many, many years. Actually, Dan has worked for me years ago and that, so, but you know, what takes place behind their fence, you know, that's nothing, you know, it don't bother me, but you know, it may bother somebody else and that, but otherwise, you know, vehicles, I mean, I'm constantly fixing the junk I got. So, and they're in the same boat fixing the junk they got. So I think that I don't know. I don't want to say anything wrong because I want to get along with my neighbors and that, and I know that there's new people that just moved in next door to me, and they, you know, they're new. I mean, they haven't been there a month, and already there's all kinds of commotion. I mean, I know the officers, they got more things to do that are more important than coming over babysitting all this all the time. So it does get a little sickening, I'm sure, guys. And that, so I think that there's gotta be a happy medium here. Something's gotta, you know, maybe these people need some help. I know one of them's disabled. I'm disabled, so, you know, I think that, maybe a helping hand would maybe help them out. In that, I know that, the parking is a problem, you know, on that street. It don't bother me, to, you know, but people park in front of my house, I don't care. You know, and that I know that, the DNR's been over there. And that, and they were, I guess, from the understanding I got, they were good about it, said, hey, throw some oil dry on it, clean it up and that, so, but, you know, like I said, you know, I really think that, I'd give them some time to get things organized a little more, because I know winter's coming, this off and on parking on the streets. Who knows what the winter's gonna be like? We may not be able to park on our streets. You never know. So, but like I said, you know, Adam does have a legit bitch, yes. In that, but then again, they do too. So, you know, they're homeowners and they got their rights also. So, but like I said, I think that, you know, some time to give them some time to get it all cleaned up. You know, even a helping hand. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that, that'll actually help. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there could do community service to help, and I'm not just talking their place. There's a lot of other ones in this town. I mean, I drive around and I look and I see stuff that's been sitting forever. And you know, something, you know, even when you go out of town, you got weeds growing through some of it. So I think that, you know, like I said, I wanted to just come in here because I kind of got drug it into the mud through this ordeal with them, and I just don't want any problems with my neighbors. I just want to get along with everybody and that, so, you know, that's about all I can say. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, at this time, we will open up public comment for anybody joining us through Zoom. So this will be the first call for public comment. This will be a second call for public comment. This will be a third and final call for public comment. Seeing none, we will move along. Agenda item 5, our consent agenda. As a reminder, the consent agenda outlined is presented for action by the city council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda on the request of any one council member. Items not removed may be adopted by one action without debate. Removed items may be taken up either immediately after the consent agenda or placed later on the agenda at the discretion of the council president.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion about any of the items? Seeing none, all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Takes us to item 6, petitions, requests, and communications. 6A, the presentation of life-saving awards to the city of Fort Atkinson police officers.
I'm just going to give a little background quick on the award, and then we'll call the officers up and present them with our awards tonight. The nice thing about our awards at our police department is they're not given to the officers because I think they deserve it. They're given to the officers because the entire department thinks they deserve it. They are nominated by their coworkers and then it goes through a committee, and then they vote on what the appropriate award is. Both of these officers, Officer Joshua Kinney and Officer Noah Sampson, were nominated for the Life Saving Award, which is one of our top awards in our agency. And it's given out for the saving of a life. Earlier this year, July 19th, in the middle of the night around 3 a.m., our agency received a 911 call from a spouse who found her loved one on the ground, not breathing. Officers quickly responded while fire and EMS was toned out to assist. Our officers got there very quickly and found the person with no pulse and not breathing. Officers quickly started CPR, initiated life-saving equipment, AED, and through the process and still waiting for EMS to arrive, delivered positive shocks to the heart with the AED, continued CPR until relieved when EMS got there. And then before the person was put in the ambulance, had a pulse again. And is alive today, actually, because of the actions of our officers and our EMS that came and helped that family that night. So I'd like to call the two officers up and like to give them their life-saving award. So we give each of our officers for the life-saving award, they get a certificate frame, and then they get actual medal with a commendation by their people on their uniform.
Congratulations.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for letting us do it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Congratulations and thank you. We're truly lucky to have you guys in Fort Atkinson.
Thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave.
We'll go on to agenda item 7, resolutions and ordinances. 7A, the review and possible action relating to a resolution requesting exemption from the county library tax for the city of Fort Atkinson.
So the Jefferson County Board has established a county library service and levies a county library tax. State statutes provide that a municipality is exempt from this county library tax if the municipality levies a minimum amount for public library services. Annually in September, the county calculates the minimum levy for municipalities to qualify for the exemption. Per the attached documentation and statutory calculation, the city is required to appropriate at least $310,048 to the Dwight Foster Public Library to be exempt from the tax. As shown in the attached resolution and as presented to the city council during the budget workshop on October 12th, the city is proposing to levy $542,484 in property taxes to fund library operations in 2022. This amount exceeds the minimum appropriation for the exemption for the county library tax. Staff recommends that the city council adopt the resolution requesting the exemption from the county library tax and direct the city clerk to provide copies of the resolution to the county clerk and the Jefferson County Library Council Administrator.
Pretty straightforward to me. My only question was, is this something like, does this process have to happen every year? Or is there a way to say we pretty much always levy significantly more than that?
This process does happen every year. Every year, the county sends us the letter with the calculation and requests the resolution.
Then unless anybody has other questions, I move to adopt the resolution requesting exemption from the county library tax and direct the city clerk to provide copies of the resolution to the county clerk and the Jefferson County Library Council Administrator.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Scher.
Aye. The resolution passes. 7B, the review and possible action relating to a resolution establishing wards in the city of Fort Atkinson based on 2020 US Census data.
Thank you. Item B and C both pertain to the establishment with the resolution and ordinances for this. So this would be two separate motions we'd be looking for, but I'd be addressing both items with one discussion. As everyone remembers, 2020 marked the 24th census that's ever done. Census is a multi-use importance. It's used to reapportionate seats in the House of Representatives. It assists to align congressional districts, and it also factors in distributions of federal dollars between municipalities. We are right now within the redistricting efforts that were led by Jefferson County. We're in the phase where it allows the local municipalities to review and approve our boundary lines with relation to our wards, which are also in turn divided into supervisory districts. This was discussed at the last council meeting. It was more for a review to allow the council members and also the community to kind of touch and feel and to see the maps and the potential boundaries. We are very fortunate with Fort Atkinson that our 5 council members are elected at large, which means they serve the entire community. It's not separated by wards. We will be transitioning back to 9 wards. We currently have 10. The 10th ward was added with the annexation of a single property. That property would have been encompassed in with a different, one of the existing neighboring wards. So the action of the council would approve us going back to 9 wards. I don't see any concern with this to the electors in our community, as everyone in Fort Atkinson votes in one location. If we have different ballot styles for April of even years, those ballot styles are made available to the voter based on their registration slip. Once they register to vote on that day, they check in, they receive their voter number, and then it tells them what ballot style to get. So it would not be transitioning voters to a new polling place for any concern. Due to a condensed timeline for districting, staff is requesting that the council take 2 actions as mentioned. The first would be to adopt the resolution establishing the wards based on the census data. Both of these steps, the second being the first reading of the ordinance, they aid in the county being able to move forward with their plans. November 9th is the tentative date for the County Board of Supervisors to review and approve the final supervisory district plan. So while we still have a few weeks away, it's very inconvenient that Fort Atkinson has minimal work to do. So it's appreciated by staff, and then also with Jefferson County, knowing that we're one community that is already almost completed, and it's less concern for them, and very advantageous for staff not being buckled down with extra hours of trying to coordinate lines. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Guessing staff hasn't received any feedback since.
No, thank you. I meant to mention, it was posted on the media, so I thank the media for getting this information out to voters. I have not had any calls, questions, concerns, comments. I have not heard or seen any. I have not heard from any staff that have heard comments either.
Just a quick comment. The reason there's 2 action items on the agenda tonight, the county needs the resolution as an approval document in order to move forward with their redistricting process. The city has our current ward boundaries outlined in an ordinance, which means we need an ordinance to change that. So instead of asking the council to waive all of the readings tonight, we're asking the council to pass a resolution that will serve the county's purposes and then begin the process of approving the ordinance that serves the city's purposes.
Well, again, I think Michelle noting that I think most of our voters probably won't even know that anything has changed for them, if for the very few that something is changing. So I would move to adopt the resolution establishing wards in the city of Fort Atkinson based on the 2020 US Census data.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick.
Aye.
Councilman Housley. Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
President Scheer.
Aye. Motion carries. Takes us to agenda item 7C, which is the first reading of a proposed ordinance to repeal and recreate section 1-14 of the City of Fort Atkinson Municipal Code relating to voting wards and boundaries. Which we're just apprised of.
I'll move to direct the city manager to prepare this ordinance for a second reading at the meeting on November 2nd, 2021.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions? Right, all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and that will move to a second reading at our next meeting. Takes us to agenda item 8, reports of officers, boards, and committees. 8A, the city manager's report.
Thank you. The city council and the management team held a workshop on October 12th to review the first draft of the 2022 operating budget and 2022 capital improvements program. The budget will have a new look this year, and we continue to work diligently in preparing the document for the public hearing that will take place on November 2nd. Our Parks and Recreation Administrative Assistant / Program Coordinator resigned a couple weeks ago, and we have now hired a new person to fill that role. Brad Freezy is a UW Whitewater grad and comes to us with experience in sports and marketing from Cambridge. And tomorrow is his first day, so we're excited to welcome Brad. The Ordinance Committee meeting has been moved to November 16th. The committee will be reviewing a proposed private well ordinance at that meeting and any other ordinances that come before us before that time. Staff continues to work with our consultants at Vanderwall on 3 projects, including the interactive zoning map, the Banker Road neighborhood planning request for proposals, and the official map. There will be more information coming in the future on those 3 items, but I wanted to provide an update. The budget has dominated most of my time over the last couple weeks and will for the next couple weeks, but I do want to mention there's a few Halloween themed events coming up. And the haunted hike at Homerson's Pond is this weekend. Trick or treating, as a reminder, is on Sunday, October 31st from 1 to 4. And then there are several trunk or treat events, including a special event, excuse me, approved by the council at Jones Park on Halloween from 6 to 8 p.m. You can always check out the Chamber of Commerce's website or the city's website for more information on those events. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Takes us to agenda item 9, unfinished business. 9A, the review and possible action relating to change order number 8 for the fire department project.
Good evening. So the change order that we are requesting was one that came to you in a council packet several meetings back, and we withdrew it because we found some issues with the design of the change order. So that has now been taken care of. Evan Flanagan is with us from Keller by Zoom in case there's any questions. But essentially what this does is it improves the air handling system in the hose drying tower to make it usable. As the memo that I sent out said, during the initial design, we had planned to put this exhaust system in. We thought that a dehumidifier system would handle the moisture in that area. It was kind of opportune that we've had as many large fires as we've had this year, because we found that when we have 2,000 feet of wet hose hanging in that tower, it's the ventilation was not adequate. So we designed an improved ventilation system, which actually will move about 5,000 cubic feet of air per minute through that tower to help with that process. We did originally have a bit of a different design, which was much more expensive. Did not have the same amount of airflow. We've gone back and modified that. This has been reviewed by the city electrician. He's going to do the electrical changes that need to be made in order to save some money. So the total change order cost is $6,130. The net over what was still remaining in our contingency budget from the 5.5 million is $874.28. This will bring the project in just slightly over our $5.5 million budget, but still I think well within the amount that we would find acceptable. Through some conversations that I had with one of Keller's managers, they said it was kind of opportune that we did the station when we did, because there's been about a 30% increase in construction costs since we signed the contract. So today this project would cost about 7.3 million to do the same construction. So we are asking for the approval of the unbudgeted expenditure of $874.28.
And Chief, or maybe this is a a question for Rebecca. Where does that additional 874.28 come from then, or what would be the plan of where that would come from?
Sure, that will come from the fire department's operating budget, 2021 operating budget.
I would move to approve payment of fire station change order number 8 in the amount of $6,130. With the additional unbudgeted expenditure of $874.28 to be paid for through the fire department's 2021 operating budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? I will say going over budget's never great, but $874 is it's a good number to come in at.
Well, we're
So
working really hard trying to bring the project in under budget. Yeah, we worked pretty diligently at that, so.
appreciated. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Scher.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Agenda item 9B, the review and possible action relating to proposals from communications consultants for a possible public safety referendum in 2022.
At the meeting on September 7th, the city council authorized staff to seek proposals for communications consultants for a possible public safety referendum on the April 22 ballot. Staff received 2 proposals by the deadline of September 30th, one from Mueller Communications and one from Michael Best Strategies. Police Chief Bump, Fire Chief Roush, and Sarah Weyert and I met on October 12th to review and compare the proposals against the evaluation matrix included in the RFP. The completed matrix is included in this packet as an attachment. Using the criteria established in the matrix, staff found the proposal from Mueller Communications scored higher and provided the best opportunity for a successful referendum. Mueller Communications has seasoned communications professionals on staff and a successful track record working with local governments and school districts, relevant experience and impeccable references. The cost of this proposal is more than the other proposal, especially including the optional community survey. However, after discussion, staff determined that a community survey may not be necessary to achieve the goal of community engagement and feedback. And we are recommending that the optional survey not be included in the scope of services. The proposal from Michael Best Strategies was less expensive, but did not highlight any specific or relevant experience. Excuse me. The city did not budget for referendum consulting services, as it was not known in 2020 that we would be pursuing this option in 22. However, staff has applied to the Fort Atkinson Community Foundation for half of the funds associated with the consulting services. The table 1 in your memo shows the proposed funding for this, which includes the Community Foundation grant in the amount of $23,390.50 and the ARPA funds revenue replacement category for another $23,390.50. Staff recommends that the city council accept the proposal from Mueller Communications to serve as the communications consultant for the possible public safety referendum in 22, excluding the optional community survey for a total of $46,781. Staff further recommends that the execution of the agreement be contingent on the approval of the Community Foundation grant for $23,390.50 or the receipt of other non-general fund dollars to make up that difference. It is in your packet, but I will note that the cost of the Michael Best Strategies proposal was $38,300, which is $8,481 less than the Mueller Communications proposal. However, for the reasons I stated previously, staff does recommend that the council approve the agreement with Mueller Communications. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I am curious what flexibility there is when it comes to, I mean, the almost 11,000 in printing and mail costs. I'm just curious if that's kind of just based on their recommended amount in that, but there could or would be flexibility of doing less than that. I mean, I'm just trying to think of ways to make this not be such a
Sure.
such an expense.
Yeah, it was a little surprising.
That number
the
just threw me
cost.
quite
Yes.
a bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to, they are proposing 3 mailings for that amount, 3 mailings citywide. So we could potentially work with them to reduce that number of mailings if we wanted to reduce the cost. However, I did not inquire about that specifically prior to this meeting.
I think, I guess in doing my own research, at this point, I'm not surprised we'd be going with Mueller Communications. When I was doing my own research a while ago, it seemed like that the name of that firm kept coming up over and over when it came to these emergency service referendums, which, like it or not, are gonna start becoming the norm here in the state of Wisconsin. I think the proposal is good. I do like the fact that even though we won't be doing the community survey option, that it does look like there's still going to be opportunities for the public to give feedback, which I think is really important. And while the total price tag, I agree, is more than I had expected, we are fortunate that the community foundation is covering a good portion of the cost. So
Potentially.
hopefully-
Just want to note that they have not approved it yet. They're meeting later this week. I
Okay.
should know on Monday.
I really hope they will be then.
Yeah.
So I think this is a necessary step forward at the end of the day.
Rebecca, can you, and I meant to pull this before the meeting, but obviously having the ARPA funds is great because this isn't something we would have to pull from general tax levy money for. Do you know what percentage of ARPA funds would be utilized for this?
So there's very specific categories for those funds. The category I'm proposing to spend the 23,390 from is the revenue replacement fund category, I should say. And that revenue replacement, by my calculation, we will have $146,000 in that fund that we will need to spend prior to December 31st of 2024.
Okay, thank you. And I, of course, have more questions. I love the success stories in here, and I mean, getting to see the examples of other, especially other public safety referendums they've done, I think is fantastic. But just from the other side of it, do we have any information related to how many they have worked on that have not been successful?
I do not have the answer to that, but I don't think they have had any that have been unsuccessful. But I can certainly follow up with them via email and answer that question for you.
And then my last question, kind of along with that, but if worst case scenario, it doesn't pass, do we have any sort of recourse for additional assistance going forward if we did want to try it again on a November ballot, or would it be you're kind of starting all over again?
I don't have an answer for that. I did not reach out to Mueller when we were doing the analysis. Obviously, work is not for naught. So any base that we started with would benefit a further a referendum that would happen potentially later in the year. I guess I don't have a better answer than that for you.
Thank you.
I think one thing it's important to bring up, and we focus this conversation and this discussion a lot on the dollar amount, and I'm not denying that is critically important, but I want to remind everybody, especially our city residents, that this process isn't just about dollars. It's about the need for change, and it's about the men and women serving on the front lines of our community. And I'm fully convinced by what they've presented us from both the fire department and the police department that we cannot stay the current course. It's not sustainable. So that's why we've started this process, and this referendum process. While it's probably not ideal, but it's necessary. And I do think that the public is gonna get plenty of opportunities to weigh in, to get all the information they need. And then when it comes time for the April ballot, they'll be able to vote yay or nay on this. So I think it's an example of direct democracy, and I think that's why we're going through this process.
I'll echo that sentiment. I know from a council perspective, we have heard the need from our emergency personnel, and I think Mueller Communications is the correct consultant to tell the need. We can only do so much as a council of 5, and while we would love to say we could knock every door and convince every resident that this is a worthy cause to support, I'm just not sure that we have the time to give. So I think, yes, while it is a larger sum of money than we're used to spending for consultants, I think it's money well worth spending, especially looking at their track record. I think this is only appropriate to help us get to that next step. So
I agree. I do think to that point, though, the money part is still important to highlight. And I think important to highlight from the aspect of none of this will come from money that our city would be spending elsewhere towards our taxpayers. I mean, I think it's also important to recognize the last couple of years that our residents have had as well, and to make sure that we're making sure they understand we have 2 potential buckets of money that this will come from, that this isn't something that would have a financial impact on them in this part of the process.
correct. The discussion, I guess we're at that point where we'd be entertaining a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to accept the proposal from Mueller Communications to serve as the communications consultant for the possible public safety referendum in 2022, excluding the optional community survey, for a total of $46,781, and that the execution of the agreement be contingent on the approval of the Community Foundation grant for $23,390.50, or the receipt of other non-general fund dollars.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye, that motion carries. Yeah, I was gonna say, this is it. They're finally coming for me. Agenda item 10, new business. 10A, the review and possible action relating to a 1-lot certified survey map for the U-Haul property located at 1307, 1309 North High Street in the city of Fort Atkinson.
Yeah, so this is related to the U-Haul property. The project has been before us before. There was a total of I think 3 lots on that property. They're combining them all into a single lot, which is consistent with what our recommendation would be from city staff in this situation. Planning Commission brought this up at their meeting last week and had no real questions or discussion and approved it. I'd be happy to take any questions from the council if you have any.
Discuss this at Planning Commission. It's a pretty straightforward process. So I'll make the motion to approve a 1-lot CSM for the U-Haul project located at 1307, 1309 North High Street in the city of Fort Atkinson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Andy, we've done a lot of these and I can't remember. So remind me, did we split this at one point into multiple lots and we're recombining them now, or is this just something?
I don't believe so.
Or am I getting our storage properties?
You might,
confused?
yeah, we did split the Shopco unit into three lots, actually, the Shopko property. So there are two outlets on that property next to Janesville Avenue.
Thank you.
This definitely wasn't the first CSM on the lot. You can see from the map
Yeah.
that there's a vacated right of way. There's some other easements that were vacated. I mean, so this has been redeveloped, I think, probably a couple times.
I think my recollection of this is that the property was divided into three lots for some time. That lot 4 on the southeast corner was just something they did to potentially, sell it for like a outlot retailer or that kind of thing. But I think that was done years ago.
Mhm. And we looked at that lot and thought that, even if in the future there is space for an outlot there, that it would probably need to be reconfigured because of its size. It's rather small.
Yeah,
So we didn't have a problem with combining it into one.
agreed.
We do have a motion and a second. So all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Takes us on to 10B, the review and possible action relating to a one-lot extraterritorial certified survey map for the Foltz property located at W6855 Old 26 in the town of Koshkonong.
Yeah, so in the packet, the memo indicated the location of this is right at the far edge, I would say, of the city's planning area. We really have no concerns related to this. The lot is being split off from the parent parcel in order to accommodate the construction of a new home, I believe, for the individual's son. Planning Commission did look at this at their meeting last week and had no concerns regarding this situation. I'd be happy to take any questions council might have related to this item.
Andy, can you just explain to me why this comes to us and not town of Koshkonong?
It does come to town of Koshkonong.
Okay.
So the division has 3 approvals. Town of Koshkonong will look at it, the county will look at it, and we will look at it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I think basically Andy isn't part of the theory that this is and could be in our potential theoretical future service area.
Yeah, we have a 3-mile service area around the boundaries of the city. Council had approved a few years ago that those that are within the 1.5 to 3 mile range, Manager Lemire and I can look at and approve and just simply let you know. But those that are within 1.5 miles always come before the Planning Commission and the City Council.
I then would move to approve a one-lot extraterritorial CSM for the Foltz property located at W6855 Old 26 Road in the town of Koshkonong.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. It takes us on to agenda item 11, miscellaneous. This evening we have none. Agenda item 12, claims, appropriations, and contract payments. 12A, the review and possible action relating to the verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorization of payment.
Move to approve list of verified claims and authorized payment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye, that motion carries. Agenda item 13, the city council may consider a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to state statute 19.851E to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties. Are we coming out of closed session or are we adjourning from?
There's nothing else on the agenda to take action on, so you would be adjourning from closed session.
I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statute 19.851E to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick.
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And at this time, we
Hey,
would ask
Adam.
everybody to
Do you mind?
either log off of Zoom or have an excellent evening elsewhere. You don't have to go home.